And what is going on, guys? You're checking out a all-new The RCWR Show. Lee Sanders here, covering the latest in wrestling entertainment and beyond. Since 2011, we are just a couple of minutes removed from WWE's Payback pay-per-view event. So, what did you guys think about the pay-per-view? I definitely want to hear from you guys. I know some of you all may feel inclined to compare this pay-per-view to last Sunday's SummerSlam pay-per-view. Because remember, SummerSlam was just a week ago. 7 days ago. And here we are again with another pay-per-view. But luckily, with regards to WWE's next pay-per-view, which is Night of Champions, that's not going to be going down for 4 weeks. For a total of 4 weeks. 4 weeks from today, which is Sunday, August 30th, 2020. We won't have to worry about another WWE pay-per-view for 4 weeks. So at least we have a nice little bit of a break right there. I still don't quite understand why we had 2 pay-per-views come at us back-to-back like what went down. But hey, man, it's all good. I got to tell you, overall, I enjoyed this pay-per-view. I legit enjoyed this pay-per-view. I bullshit you not. I'm not trolling you guys whatsoever. I thoroughly enjoyed this pay-per-view. From the pre-show to the main card, opening of the match, pretty much going, I won't say opening of the match, and we'll dive into that a little bit more in a hot second, but from what I saw of the pre-show, definitely going into the main card, leading all the way up to the main event match. I want to know what you guys had thought about the pay-per-view, so sound off. I've got the Twitter poll at the RCWR Show. For those of you that had Twitter, you can vote that way. Asking you guys, what did you think about the pay-per-view for tonight? You can also cast your vote. If you don't have Twitter, you can head on over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/the RCWR Show, and you can click on the communities tab, and you can cast your vote that way. All right, and let me just see what's going on right now. I'm not going to look at the YouTube one because that literally was posted right before I went live on the air. But what I will do is look and see what's going on with the Twitter post so far. And votes are coming in early, but looks like a majority enjoyed the pay-per-view from what I'm seeing. So sound off. I'll definitely circle back to what you all have to say. Now, one thing I did put out right before the main event match of the night, which had saw the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, defend his Universal Championship against Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns. Remember, if you saw SmackDown, which, by the way, SmackDown I did watch going into the pay-per-view, I gotta say, I enjoyed SmackDown. I know I told you guys that I have been not able to really check out SmackDown the past several weeks. Finally, a Friday night, off from work, didn't have to worry about work until late Saturday evening. It was refreshing to kick back, watch SmackDown. I went into it with a nice, fresh set of eyes since I hadn't seen it in a couple of weeks. And I like the tone that they pretty much had set going into tonight's pay-per-view. And I like the fact that, okay, this actually looks pretty enjoyable. I'm having a good time. All right, I'll definitely be checking this out on the regulars. So kudos to WWE. They trying there. But of course, we heard Roman Reigns say, hey, look, I'm not going to sign this contract, but I will be there at Payback. I will be in that main event match. I will be the new Universal Champion and all that. But there was an interesting tweet that I put out right before the main event match went down. And this is what I said. And I quote, have a bad feeling a lot of folks are going to crap on the main event match because of the finish and will instead lose focus of the brilliance at display and furthering a story arc. We shall see. Hashtag WWE Payback. And so for those of you that are kind of like, I wonder, now you kind of have a little bit of an idea what I was talking about there. All right, so let's kind of recap this. And this is going to be a nice short pay-per-view recap, by the way. I think we'll probably go about 45 minutes to an hour at most. I mean, there's really no need for us to really spam out all over the place, especially since we got to come right back less than 24 hours and talk about Monday Night Raw. But the main event match, we had Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, come out, do his grand, big, epic entrance and everything, gets attacked from behind by Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman. He gets attacked from behind by Strowman. And these two guys are pretty much going at it. At this point, you're probably saying, okay, where's Roman Reigns? Roman Reigns is nowhere to be found. He didn't get no entrance startup, nothing like that. So Fiend, Strowman, they're pretty much going at it for majority of the match. And as far as the official time of that match, that main event match, that went about almost 15 minutes. So for pretty much I would say if it was almost 15 minutes, I would say for at least 10, 11 of those minutes, it was all Strowman and Fiend going at it, back and forth with each other. And nice, good slobber fest. Just a good slobber knocker that was going on between those two guys. Taking the action up to the top of the ramp, beating the hell out of each other. You had a nice, cool-ass, sweet spot where Braun Strowman sent the Fiend crashing into the LED board. That was pretty sweet. And then eventually both of them went crashing through a table that was just off to the side of the ramp and everything. That was a nice little spot that went about. Action continues on, finds his way eventually back into the ring. I believe it was Braun Strowman who at this point was fighting the Fiend on the top turnbuckle, did a superplex basically, and it just made the fucking ring collapse. He had the fucking referee. That referee, you got to see the spot. If you didn't watch the pay-per-view, you got to go back and you got to check out the spot. So the referee oversold like a mofo when you see this guy. So I think it was Charles Robinson. Is that the referee, guys? The one that has always imitated Ric Flair, basically, hair color and all that? Let me know. But the referee in this one, once the ring collapses, you see the referee clear as day, and he's just kind of like, oh, he's kind of acting like the Star Trek series from back in the 60s, and they're faking like, oh, we're under attack. Oh, we're going over this obstacle here. Oh, the ship's been attacked. Oh, yeah, it's kind of going like that. So you see the fucking referee, and the referee is just kind of going through the motions, but then to add insult to injury, he fucking takes this weird, I don't know why, but he just felt so compelled to throw himself over the top rope to really sell the fact that, what these two men did in the ring was so devastating that, it sent him flying over the ropes and everything. So he pretty much gets taken out. Both men are laid out in the middle of the ring. Next thing you know, you hear the music of Roman Reigns. Why we needed to hear the music of Roman Reigns, honestly, just have him come down. Honestly, just have him come down and let's just watch him kick ass. But he comes out anyway, music and all. Paul Heyman has the contract because remember, if you didn't watch SmackDown, Postman Pierce was given a task by Vince McMahon to obtain all 3 signatures for this Universal Championship match. And by the time SmackDown ended, Pierce was only able to obtain Strowman's and Wyatt's. But here we are tonight. Strowman, Fiend, laid out. Hear the music of Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman's out there. He's got that same contract from Friday Night SmackDown. Roman signs on the dotted line, has a steel chair in his hand. And at this point, you're going, oh, wow. So we're really amping it up here with the heel-like tendencies of Roman Reigns, especially with this deadly alliance, this dangerous alliance, if you will, that's gone about with Paul Heyman here. Okay, so he's going to do whatever it takes by any means necessary to become the Universal Champion again. So looked as though maybe Roman Reigns was getting ready to go belligerent there with that steel chair. I was anticipating it, but he looks at the steel chair and decides he doesn't need that. So he tosses it, goes in the ring, thinks at this point he can just pick up the scraps, goes for the cover on Wyatt, not once but twice, and Wyatt kicked out. I believe he then tried to go for Strowman. I believe he did. I believe he tried to go for Strowman, and pretty much same thing. So match went on just pretty much a couple of more minutes after that. But if I remember the finish to it, don't quote me on the finish, because at this point I was pretty much getting ready to set up the show and everything. But as far as who ate the pinfall or the submission, it was Braun Strowman that ate the pinfall. or the submission. That much I do remember. And you're like, okay, so Wyatt didn't exactly get pinned there. Wyatt didn't submit. Okay, so essentially you can make the argument that, hey, this guy is still kind of strong over here. He wasn't officially beaten. So in essence, you can still kind of continue on here with potentially a Roman Reigns Wyatt program if you kind of want to go in that direction. Hey, happy birthday to our longtime listener and Patreon member Gino. Today's his birthday. So, well, hey, hope you had enjoyed it. Hope it was fun, relaxful. You're able to spend it with your friends and family. And hey, I appreciate the fact that you're taking the time out to incorporate the post show here. And you know what? Not for nothing, I appreciate everybody that's checking out the post show live right now. We're streaming on Periscope/Twitch, YouTube. Did I mention Twitch? Periscope/Twitter, YouTube. Use keywords, the RCWR Show. We're going to be coming back to Facebook real soon, but it looks like right now the multi-streaming platform that I'm using as a main server, basically, they're having some issues with Facebook, so I'm just trying to give them a couple of weeks so they can work out the kinks, and then I'm going to try it again. But we will definitely be incorporating Facebook once again in the coming weeks, because I do miss the Facebook audience without a doubt. But yeah, I'm just looking in my notes right here, trying to see if I can, bear with me a second here. I'm just going through my notes here. I'm trying to see if I can pull up those closing moments in that main event match. And if anybody wants to sound off on the main event match as far as the closing moments, let me know. But I'm pretty sure it was Braun Strowman that had faced the defeat there. Matter of fact, let me see here. Just give me a second here. Yeah, I was pretty much writing in a hurry. I pretty much just got Strowman took the defeat and Roman becomes a new champion. So, look, getting back to what I had said a couple of minutes ago, now you understand the tweet that I had put out there initially as far as the finish. So when you hear what essentially happened, okay, so Roman basically comes out during the last 4 minutes of this match and he pretty much isn't really doing anything. He's just hitting his signature move, spear, boom, 1, 2, 3, and he becomes a champion. You can understand why I said what I said in that tweet, of as far as there's probably going to be folks that's going to be pretty pissed off at the finish to that match. There's equally most likely going to be a nice amount of people that's going to be upset over the fact that, well, wait a minute, we just saw the Fiend get the title, and, not for nothing, but the Strowman experiment, that really wasn't doing anything, so we can pretty much forget about that. Like, screw the hell out of Strowman as champion. Nah, man, Fiend should have held on to the title a bit longer there. Why did we just have to just hotshot it to Roman like that? What the fuck? I get that. I get where people are coming from with this, but you all are really missing the bigger story that's at play, and what you all should just be really kicking back and relishing in, which is the fact that we have this Roman Reigns, this somewhat new layer to Roman Reigns that has essentially, you know what? If I can take some shortcuts here and there, if I can somehow guarantee myself being the top dog once again, whatever angles, whatever I gotta weave through, whatever I gotta do, I'm gonna fucking do it. And in this case, he stooped to the level of aligning himself with Paul Heyman. That's the bigger picture that you all need to be walking away with, going, okay, with this new layer of Heyman in the mix, we're seeing the Roman Reigns that normally, because really stop and think about it for a second. Really stop and think about it. Up until now, we have gotten a Roman Reigns that has always been a class act, that has always been above and beyond, that has always faced challenges head on. He has never done anything, I'm talking about, of course, post-Shield, and he went the whole face route. He has always tried to do things up front, face to face, no beating around the bush. He says he's going to do something, he's going to fucking do it. And he's not going to take no fucking handouts. He's not going to sleep in the same bed with the enemy in order to get whatever it is. He's not going to be a corporate guy or any of that fucking bullshit. And yet, here he is aligned with Paul Heyman. Remember that. Yet, here he is aligned with Paul Heyman. Remember, I just told you the guy went down the ramp with a steel chair in his hand, ready to use it. But because of all the carnage that Strowman and Wyatt caused upon each other, he felt, nah, you know what? They're dead. I don't need this. The hell. And I could have sworn that at one point when one of the referees, because he did call for a referee to come out and everything, I could have sworn at one point he said something along the lines of, count, motherfucker, or something like that. I mean, there was some serious bravado. There was some gusto bravado that was going on with fucking Roman Reigns tonight. But that is what I want for all of you guys to really be focused on right here. I know the finish is definitely going to rub some of you guys the wrong way. I know it is. But the bigger picture is, okay, we've got this Heyman Reigns alliance. You know, we need more details on that as far as what the hell. Why would Roman align himself with probably his greatest enemy here, especially when you consider who Heyman represents and everything, and Brock Lesnar? Why would Roman even align himself with this guy? What the hell? So, to be continued. We got to keep watching SmackDown and see what's going to further develop with regards to that. Look, I've said it on this show a couple of times over the years, and actually not over the years. That's not what I meant to say. Over the course of the past several months is what I was trying to say, which is this point. I've always felt that Bray Wyatt should have never lost the title to Goldberg. I always felt that way. I always felt that he should have always held that title until whenever Roman Reigns' whole situation was straightened out, personal health reasons, just all of that, whenever he was ready to come back and, okay, let's do business, then you go on ahead, have Bray Wyatt drop the title. That's what I always felt WWE should have done. But the fact that it didn't end up that way, just sour on so many levels. So that's probably the one thing, if I can just kind of look back and say, I wish this would have changed right here in WWE history, it would just be that. But I mean, other than that, I really don't have a problem with Roman Reigns being the guy right now. I really don't, especially during a time right now where, let's be honest, WWE needs all the fucking star power that it can get. They need all the star power that they can fucking get. Edge is out with the fucking injury. Yeah, you got Roman Reigns. Not Roman Reigns. I'm not talking about before Roman Reigns came back, but basically, Randy Orton, you know, he can only do but so much. You know, who are you going to have Randy Orton try to elevate as, speaking of elevating, we definitely got to talk about that joint with Keith Lee. Talk about that in a hot minute. But, you know, you just look across, you know, other than your Daniel Bryans, your AJ Styles, you know, you start to run out of the marquee names real fucking quick, sadly. So they needed for Roman Reigns to come back now more than ever. They really needed him. So the timing of him being back, it's fucking perfect. This new story arc that's going on right now, I'm fucking loving it. Let's see what happens. But let's keep going. I've spent more than enough ample time talking about that main event. I do want to kind of get through this as quickly as possible. I've got some personal stuff I got to take care of in the morning, sadly. And part of that has to do with some studying. So I do want to kind of get through this as quick as possible. So let's go ahead. Let's keep rocking and rolling here. Now, the pre-show matchup, for those of you that did not watch the pay-per-view, your pre-show matchup, your one and only pre-show matchup, that consisted of the Wyatt Squad's Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan. They defeated the IIconics, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. Almost a 10, 11-minute match. I actually was pretty good. It actually was a pretty good matchup. I gotta tell you, I was quite taken back by Liv Morgan tonight. I really, really was. She showed me some great potential. I gotta be honest, she showed me some great potential. If that potential means a future women's champion, I don't know. I don't know if I'm willing to jump that far just yet. My personal opinion. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying I'm not quite sure I can envision that just yet. But what she showed me tonight, she definitely for me, she showed me why the upper brass and management, I'm starting to see it now. I'm starting to see it. So what I'm starting to see, more please. That's basically what I'm saying in a nutshell. But there was just something that was just really clicking. I mean, she shined really damn good tonight. And I got to tell you, I know that in some form, Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, when they were also paired up with Sarah Logan there, the original run of the Riott Squad, it's so weird because when I look back on that particular period, and then I compare it to this period, there is just something about, I don't know if it's chemistry, maybe that's what it is, or what, but there is just something this second go round that I'm enjoying a lot of this new Riott Squad, somewhat old Riott Squad, but Liv Morgan showed me something tonight. She showed me a little bit of a fire. She showed me a little bit of a good fighting spirit. She showed me that, hey, if you give me an opportunity, I can definitely go into this and I can really thrive. And I mean, it was really on display tonight. I don't think maybe 6 months from now, if you were to ask me, pull up some of my greatest Liv Morgan moments, I don't think I would be able to pull this out of my ass for the love of me, even if some money was on the line. But what I saw tonight definitely made me say, okay, you know what? All right. I won't be as harsh on Liv going forward here. All right, let's see what happens now. So WWE, they now need to continue to build off of this. That's just the whole point that I'm making. They got to continue to build off of this. But good match between the Riott girls taking on the IIconics. Again, Riott Squad picking up the W. Good tag match. Actual pay-per-view match card we go. Sadly, I had missed this match. I had missed Bobby Lashley defeating Apollo Crews to become the new United States champion. I had missed that. I actually was making dinner for the family, and I had my girl actually watch the match, and I thought for sure by the time I came back I was probably going to see the tail end of it, but by the time I came back I pretty much was on Big E taking on Sheamus, and I asked her, how was the match? Was it pretty good? Did it suck? She said, no, it was actually pretty good. We got a new champion, Lashley. Lashley did it in strong fashion. I said, oh, okay, cool. But she said it was a really good match. So for her to say it was a really good match, she's kind of tough. She's kind of tough when it comes to, it was okay. Because she's pretty much in her own respected right as a wrestling fan. Off and on growing up, she's seen a lot, so for her to say, it was actually a pretty good match, that's good. So I think after I'm done with this show, while I'm doing a little bit of studying, I'll probably try to see if I can catch that match again, so I can say that I actually did watch it. But again, Lashley defeating Apollo Crews, becoming the new champion. Good for the Hurt Business. Good for the Hurt Business. I gotta tell you, that Hurt Business, they're really growing on me. They really are. And the other interesting dynamic that you got is, okay, so now that Apollo Crews is without the United States Championship, what's going to happen now? Does he maybe go for a rematch here? If that's even an option. What about his relationship with Ricochet and Cedric Alexander. We see that MVP has been mentally putting the screws there to Alexander, trying to get him to defect over to the Hurt Business and everything. So, what's going to happen there with Apollo? Is Apollo maybe going to try to regroup, go after the United States title again, or is he maybe going to try to set his eyes on the tag division? But then it's a case of, okay, well, who's he going to try to run with for his tag partner? Is he maybe going to run with Ricochet? And thus that's going to kind of alienate Cedric even more and ultimately defect to the Hurt Business. Some stuff you got to look out for there. Big E, damn good matchup against Sheamus. Big E defeating Sheamus. You know what? I love this. I love this. I did. First of all, I'm so happy that we are so removed now from Sheamus, Jeff Hardy, and that whole respected story angle. I really did not particularly care about that angle. To each its own, but I personally didn't care anything for it. So I was happy to see both men eventually get just far removed from each other and that story arc. This was the match that Big E definitely needed, though, for me personally, in order to, in storyline, say, okay, as far as Big E goes, him eventually being a singles guy, I mean, not for nothing, but in some shape or form, we have seen Big E and Sheamus lock it up in some shape or form. But given everything that happened with Talking Smack recently, with Miz and Big E, some of the stuff that Booker T had to touch upon and really clear the air up on his respective podcasts about conversations he's had with Big E and just all of that. I mean, look, and this is something I really wasn't able to really talk about since all of that had went down and everything. But without being long-winded, I've personally felt always for years that Big E, look at this guy. Why isn't this guy getting a fucking singles run? I always felt that, wait a minute, not for nothing, happy for Kofi and everything, but nah, man, that really should have been Big E. If anybody should have, it really should have been Big E. And so for me, it's just nice to kind of see how things are finally starting to come full circle for Big E. And it's really coming off like, okay, well, and not for nothing, but when you really stop and think about it, okay, so Woods is injured and, you got some stuff going on with Kofi and, if now's not the time, when? If now's not the time to try to see what Big E can do on his own, then when? It almost kind of reminds me of an old saying that Triple H used to have back in the day, which was, if you're not in WWE to ultimately be a WWE champion, a World Heavyweight champion, then what the hell are you doing here? He's like, that's what everybody should be striving for, basically, when they come to WWE. So with talent, size, caliber of a Big E, I expect nothing but big things to happen for him. And I tell you, I was so impressed with the whole demeanor and everything that he had going on in this match against Sheamus and I loved hearing him mouth off against Corey Graves and all that. I saw there was a couple of people that was right along with me when I had put out the tweet. I said, man, book it right now. Roman Reigns taking on Big E for the Universal title at next year's WrestleMania. Let's make it happen. If we're going to try to pass the torch, really build somebody up properly and everything, okay, well, let's fucking do it right. And who better than fucking Roman Reigns to put over Big E? Why not? So, anything can happen, but it's nice to see that finally the powers that be are slowly getting behind Big E. Because that's a guy that for all the years he's been in there, I mean, come on, when you really stop and think about it, you've never heard him get in any type of trouble, rubbing people the wrong way. You've never heard him involved in some type of, wellness policy violation or some stupid shit. You've never heard of any stupid little thing like that. So work rate, very consistent. You got to eventually, okay, we're going to toss you a bone. You know, last time we tried to toss you a little something and it didn't quite work out, but you know, enough time has passed. You've seen more seasons. You know, like you got more experience under your belt. All right, here's another opportunity. Let's see what you can do. So can't wait to see what the future holds from my man Big E. Matt Riddle defeated King Corbin. That match went about almost 12 minutes. Almost 12 minutes. Good chemistry between Riddle and King Corbin. Damn good chemistry between the two. I'm happy to see that these two guys aren't done with each other just yet, because backstage, I didn't catch the name of the new interviewer, but they got a new backstage interviewer. She caught up with Riddle to ask him about the victory over King Corbin. And right when he was getting ready to comment, Corbin came from behind and assaulted Riddle. So obviously their feud's not over yet. All right, okay, cool. So they're going to take it up to another level right here. King Corbin, again, it kind of goes back to SmackDown. Again, I hadn't watched SmackDown really in several weeks. So to sit down, watch SmackDown this past week, see what was going on, particularly when I saw that Riddle and Corbin had been feuding with each other. And somehow there's this alliance going on between Corbin and Shorty G. By the way, that Shorty G taking on Riddle match, that was really good from this past Friday SmackDown. That was really good. I wish it would have went longer. That match really should have gone longer. I was greatly disappointed that it didn't. But Riddle, King Corbin, I'm happy to see that these two guys aren't done with each other just yet. This feud between these two are going to continue. And I tell you what, Corbin is another one. Say what you will about Corbin and his whole gimmick and maybe to a certain degree even his personality, but nah, man, I've always been consistent with Corbin. His work rate continues to improve. Everything going on with his in-ring persona and everything, that's continuing. That's continuing to gel well. You know, there's certain individuals who I sometimes look at and say, you know what? They need a crowd. They thrive. They succeed better when they're in front of a crowd. And for me, I always felt that Corbin was definitely one of those people. But that's what's so interesting right now with this whole pandemic situation going on. And for a lot of these wrestling promotions, well, now we're kind of getting to that point where now the fans are starting to come back, 10% capacity or whatever the fucking number is, depending on the city, state, and all that. But, for what it's worth, during this whole pandemic, Corbin has continued to thrive as a on-air personality and everything. He's continued, if there was anybody I would have been concerned about, without having the fans to really play off of and everything, Corbin would be at the top of my list. But everything that I see that he's been doing so far, he is still at that level that I remember him last at before the whole pandemic and everything broke out. So that makes me happy. That makes me happy to see. And Riddle, come on, man, I ain't got nothing bad to say about Riddle. Riddle, future's bright for that young man. He's definitely going to have a nice, awesome, cool, kick-ass career ahead of him. Just looking at my notes here, seeing if there's anything in addition I want to say about Riddle taking on King Corbin here. I know some people, they're going to look at this feud and they really aren't going to, they don't really care for it. They really aren't going to want for it to continue. I'm actually okay. I'm actually okay with these two continuing to go at it. I am. Not to mention King Corbin, he's kind of tweaked his King gimmick just a little tiny bit. But what I can't help but wonder is, okay, when are we going to get to that point where it's time for a new King of the Ring tournament? Because we eventually gotta, we gotta move on. We gotta appoint a new king here. Who's going to be the new King of the Ring? So stay tuned for that one. All right, let's go to our next matchup. Our next matchup, according to this, by the way, you probably saw the commercial for WWE 2K Battlegrounds. Friendly reminder, that game is going to be released September 18th of this year. I repeat, that game is going to be released September 18th of this year. All right, let's go to our next matchup. Our next matchup that saw... We talked about Matt Riddle, King Corbin, Shayna Baszler. This is probably one of my favorite matches of the entire night. Actually, when I go back and I look at the entire card, I'm looking at the entire card here. Two matches really jump out to mind that were my absolute favorites of the night. But the first one, I definitely want to give a mad nod to, which was the next match. We're getting ready to talk about the tag team match for the WWE Women's Tag Titles. Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax teamed up, and they defeated Bayley and Sasha Banks. You heard me right. We got new women's tag champions, and Baszler and Jax, as they defeated Bayley and Sasha Banks. Match went about 11, maybe 12 minutes long. All four girls, and I complimented the hell out of them on social media. All four of these girls, they fucking tore the house down. You know, with that little bit of time that they had in there, you know, for me, that's, you know, for me, what's not short period of time is if you go in there and you're able to put in about, you know, 13, 14, 15 minutes plus. But the fact that they were able to go in there with that little bit of time that they had, which was 10, 11 minutes, I think it barely creeped up to 12 minutes. But the story they were able to tell in that, all four of them, they need to be given their fucking props. Because that was a damn good, entertaining match. I can't, and it basically follows up on the tweet that I had put out earlier. I said, and I can actually pull it up for you guys here. Bear with me a second here. Because I really didn't tweet that much when the pay-per-view was on. See. I'm looking at it right now. Hang on. I said, great match, ladies. All four of them really freaking brought it tonight. How can you not like that match, even if new champs were crowned? This pay-per-view has been on a roll so far. And it was, because that was another thing that I had noticed about tonight, was you look at every single match that played out. Now, unless something happened in the Apollo Crews taking on Bobby Lashley match, then you all will have to jump in and let me know that saw the match if that was a fuck finish. But all the matches that I saw from the pre-show to what I saw on the main card, there were no fuck finishes. It was fucking clean. Everybody was fucking clean. I mean, when I go back, I mean, even when you had a case of the finish to the women's tag match, fucking Shayna Baszler, and that was fucking brilliant how they had fucking did that shit, by the way. You know, final moments of the match, Bayley's bouncing off of the ropes. She's looking for an offensive maneuver on Shayna Baszler, who's the legal person that's supposed to be in the ring and everything. Baszler fucking counters, and she basically trips up Bayley's leg and everything, and Shayna's trying to get her in this leg submission maneuver and everything, and right as she's trying to apply it and she's trying to torque it and everything, we see fucking Sasha Banks. She's charging right after Baszler. Baszler fucking counters her, and now all of a sudden you got like a fucking, it was just a weird big old fucking menage a trois submission fest that was going on there with fucking Shayna Baszler, as somehow she's got both of these girls in a submission hold, and she actually ends up using fucking Sasha Banks' arm over Bayley's neck, if I remember it right. It was just a weird, just, what am I seeing right here? It was awesome how they fucking pulled that shit off, man. It was a nice, cool finish. But even at that, for the submission move, just all the matches tonight, no fuck finish. Either everybody won by pinfall or it was submission, but it was clean. There was no fucking controversy involved. And you're like, whoa, this is rare from WWE. What the hell is going on here? It was fucking cool. It was a nice little cool fucking spot, man. So now let's really home in on this. And this kind of follows up on what we were talking about last week right here on the show. remember I said to you guys, hey, eventually you got to get all them belts off of Sasha Banks. So eventually you can have those two girls feud with each other and everything. Well, now it really seems like we are really pushing that envelope even further now. As of tonight, Sasha Banks, no more titles. She is not Dose Banks. So, how is that really going to settle on in with her after tonight going forward there? Sometimes you'll have those friends that, yeah, they're your friend, but man, when they're desperate and they're hungry, they're willing just to do about anything to succeed in life. And if that means they got to do a little bit of backstabbing of their best friends in order to get to the top, some of them will fucking stoop to those petty fucking levels, man. It's sad but true. So I can't wait to see what the next chapter holds there for Sasha Banks. I can't wait to see that. Keith Lee. Short match, man. Keith Lee. I won't say shockingly. I won't say that. I know a lot of people are probably going to be like shocked. But Keith Lee defeating Randy Orton, that match was about maybe 5 minutes. For me, I was not shocked with that match whatsoever. Was not shocked with that match whatsoever. And I'm going to tell you the reason why I wasn't shocked with that match. I wasn't shocked with that match for a couple of reasons. One, I felt personally that, and I kind of alluded to this when I did the show last. And what I alluded to was the fact that, hey, one of the last times we saw Drew McIntyre, he was put in the ambulance courtesy of Randy Orton. So, and I alluded to the fact that I would suspect that maybe in some shape or form, McIntyre is going to make an appearance and, he's going to try to extract revenge, but at the same time, maybe he's going to do it in such a way he doesn't screw Keith Lee out of his first pay-per-view win. So I kind of alluded to that. So for me to see Keith Lee coming out on top, it did not surprise me. And plus, you also got to look at it like this. This was Keith Lee's first debut as a main roster star on a main event pay-per-view, right? You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, so do we really want to have this guy kick things off with a hot L? We just saw him on Monday Night Raw earlier in the week, and we're really going to kick things off by giving him a hot L. No, he needed this win, because if he did not get the win tonight, then once again, you would have had journalists, you would have had podcasters, including myself, that would have been questioning the WWE booking once again. Because this was definitely a case right here where, given everything and storyline that Randy Orton had accomplished, he could have afforded to lose to Keith Lee and still have that main event status, that aura and all that he has going on with him. Nah, it didn't shock me whatsoever. I mean, teach its own. If you guys were shocked, that's on you. But for me, it didn't shock me whatsoever. It needed to happen. And then plus, not to mention, revisionist history. Again, journalists, podcasters, we all would be the first to just, you see, they didn't have Keith Lee go over. Here we go again. Here goes that weird domino effect once again. NXT star gets the call up to the main roster, and look what happens here. They get shitted on instantly. Now, there's just no way I saw that happening. Now comes the bigger picture and the bigger task for everybody on deck when it comes to Keith Lee, which is, all right, you gave him this W over Orton, mind you, cleanly in the middle of the ring. Closing moments of that matchup, Randy Orton, great series of counters that both men were doing. Orton was looking for the RKO. Keith Lee managed to counter that and pretty much turned it into a sit-down power bomb. Picks up the 1, 2, 3. Again, cleanly. in the middle of the ring. No controversy in there whatsoever. I thought for sure maybe after Keith Lee picked up the W, maybe Drew McIntyre was going to pop up there, but no Drew McIntyre sighting tonight. By the way, what the fuck is going on with Retribution? This is 2 consecutive pay-per-views now that Retribution has not made their presence felt. They can show up on the other shows, but SummerSlam, you won't see it coming, whatever their fucking slogan was, right? Well, we can't see them. We sure as hell didn't see them at SummerSlam. If there was ever hey, let's see Retribution tonight. No Retribution tonight. So, I don't know if this is a case where WWE is starting to run out of ideas for Retribution or what, but to not see these guys pop up on pay-per-view, pretty weird. Pretty weird if you ask me. You needed to have that consistency and storyline too, mind you, because not for nothing, but if you remember SmackDown, there was an episode of SmackDown where Retribution interfered, looked as though they were about to beat the living bejeebus out of Braun Strowman and Wyatt. Wyatt thought, or correction, Strowman thought maybe he had an ally briefly there and Wyatt, and they could just pretty much clean house with Retribution, but Wyatt left his ass hanging. If there was ever especially if you wanted to kind of stir the pot just a little bit and maybe kind of hint at the idea of, is Retribution somehow aligned with Heyman and Roman Reigns? If you wanted to hint at that if you really wanted to send people home wondering what the fuck, I think tonight you really should have had, when both men were laid out in the middle of the ring there, I think it would have been a great opportunity had you had Retribution disrupting things, causing their little anarchy, all around the ring and everything, and then cue up the music of Roman Reigns. If you want to have Retribution back off or, whatever you wanted to do, you could have easily done it, but you could have done it definitely in a way where you're kind of hinting at the idea of, is it possible that something is going on here between Retribution, Heyman, Roman Reigns? But they didn't go that route. But Keith Lee, this was a much needed W for him. Wasn't feeling the attire. I know a lot of people weren't liking last week's attire. This week's attire, it was kind of weird. It was kind of weird looking at Keith Lee's attire. Yeah, because it looked as though he skinned alive Oscar the Grouch. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about if you watch the pay-per-view. You know the part of his attire I'm talking about. But it looked like he skinned the hell out of Oscar the Grouch. And maybe he came across a wizard or something in Fable or Fallout or whatever and took their fucking costume. It's kind of weird what was going on there. The bodysuit thing, that's going to take me a while to get used to. That whole bodysuit top thing. I need more colors. If he's going to be wearing a top, I need more colors because it looked pretty create a superstar. It really looked pretty generic. They got to change that. They got to change that for him. Dominik Mysterio and his dad, Rey Mysterio, defeating Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy. That went about almost 20 minutes long. Good tag match. They followed up on what they had did at SummerSlam. This was pretty good. I don't know if maybe it's because I'm a big fan of Mama Mysterio, but I was really looking forward to seeing potentially Mama Mysterio tonight. And the fact that we didn't get Mama Mysterio tonight kind of left me a little bit heartbroken there. It did. I'm just trying to think about this matchup a little bit more. Trying to think if there's anything in addition I want to say about this match. And there really isn't, because this was literally like watching what they did at SummerSlam, but dialed back a bit. I don't know if you guys kind of picked up that same vibe too, for those of you that had watched the match. Now, don't get me wrong. it wasn't a disappointing match by any means. So I don't want you guys walking away. No, it wasn't a disappointing match in any way, but the caliber and excitement, quality, it was a step lower than what they did at SummerSlam. But I like the fact that still the feud had, kept on going and everything. Dominik, for me, showed a lot of great potential at SummerSlam. I can't stress that enough. He showed a lot of fucking potential. He was highly enjoyable. And I can't remember the last time I was this excited to see the child of a wrestler that I grew up on. Okay, here we go. I think, if I were to say the last time, if I really want to get technical, I gotta go with Brian Pillman Jr. As soon as I found out, hey, he's gonna try his hand in pro wrestling, I pretty much was like, well, I definitely remember what his dad was doing, so this should be, and he's been tearing it up. Although I gotta say, that was a weak ass joint that he had on this past Dynamite. That I was not feeling. With a guy with the type of looks that he has and everything, his respected team should have gone over. His team should have gone over. But that's AEW talk. But nah, just, Curtis Axel. He was one that I was really, but, we kind of saw how that had panned out. Teddy DiBiase Jr. We'd be here all night if we were just going down the list, but those would be some of the times where I'm like, but no, with Dominik, it was for me, and I think for everybody else that grew up on Mysterio and everything, and remember the whole I'm your poppy angle with Mysterio, Dominik, Guerrero, to see Dominik, and it's like, you just get, yeah, man, come on, Dominik, and, you want to see him succeed as a pro wrestler and everything. It's a breath of fresh air, and he continues to be a breath of fresh air. These guys, their chemistry and all that, it works great together. All four of these guys, it works really fucking great together. I like the fact that, to a degree, Rollins was protected in this match. In the way Rollins was protected in this match, he did not eat the pinfall or the submission. It was actually Murphy that did it. Now, what I'm trying to figure out, because I was getting ready at this point officially for the show, I'll have to rely on you guys, but I believe I heard Michael Cole say something along the lines of Mysterio was supposed to be facing Rollins on Raw this week. Maybe I heard that wrong, but let me know if I did. But I could have sworn I heard Michael Cole say something along those lines. But the fact that Rollins was protected there, it's kind of like, so, I mean, even though the Mysterios extracted revenge, you can, essentially make the argument that, well, no, Dominik didn't officially truly get revenge on Rollins. Because remember, SummerSlam, Rollins try saying that 10 times fast. Rollins curb stomped the shit out of Dominik. So, you're kind of going in the back of your head there. You're doing the revisionist history. Nah, Dominik owes Seth Rollins a receipt there. He owes him a serious fucking ass whooping. So, but I think I heard it right. I'm not really sure, but I think I kind of heard that right. But it was, as far as Murphy eating the pin, Yes, I did hear it right. I did hear it right, because I'm actually looking at a preview for Monday Night Raw, and apparently once and for all, this is going to be settled. So I did hear that right. But again, Dominik, Mysterio, Rey Mysterio, Rollins, Murphy, they did pretty good. Their chemistry, they're all pretty good there together. Main event match, don't really have anything else more in addition that we need to add to that, unless you guys want me to double down and say something in addition. But there's really nothing else for me to say with that one. Look, this pay-per-view itself, it wasn't a must-see card, given the fact that a lot of these matches were recycled to a certain degree, because We've seen these play out on main television at some point. Some of what we got from SummerSlam and everything. This show, in a nutshell, mainly relied heavily on the return of Roman Reigns. This is the big dog and everything, So that's what it was really all about. Also, new guys in Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, elevating them quite a bit. You could also look at Payback and say it was about that. No Drew McIntyre here tonight. Not even a health update. If there was, I missed it. But I probably would say the 90% that I saw of it, there was nothing as far as an update on McIntyre and everything. But once again, what is up with the Retribution angle there? You don't have Retribution show up. Kind of weird right there. Very, very weird right there. So we got a nice little setup right there for Clash of Champions. And, oh, wow, that's nice. I got the news playing in the background. And, of course, with the whole passing of Chadwick Boseman, Ryan Coogler, who, as you all know, Black Panther director, he put out a statement. I don't know how many of you guys had saw this statement, but he said, Chad deeply valued his privacy, and I wasn't privy to the details of his illness. After his family released their statement, I realized, oh, hang on a second. I thought I had paused it already here. Give me a second here, guys. Give me that statement. There we go. After his family released their statement, I realized that he was living with his illness the entire time I knew him. Because he was a caretaker, a leader, and a man of faith, dignity, and pride, he shielded his collaborators from his suffering. He lived a beautiful life, and he made great art, day after day, year after year. That was who he was. He was an epic firework display. I will tell stories about being there for some of the brilliant sparks till the end of my days. What an incredible mark he's left for us. And again, that was from director Ryan Coogler. So good stuff right there. Good stuff like there. I like that. Good. I'll talk a lot more because, we did, I did react to the news in real time as it had came in. What was that? What was that, Friday? Going into Saturday, I think it was. And that was just, oof. I tell you. Just, oof. But anyway, we got the Night of Champions pay-per-view that's going to be coming up in about 4 weeks. So that should be a pretty good pay-per-view. There's enough time in weeks there to really build up some story arcs even more. Especially with regards to Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre is going to want him another piece of Randy Orton. So, what's going to happen come Night of Champions? Going to have to wait and see about that. Sasha Banks, Bayley, are they maybe going to be colliding at Clash of Champions for Bayley's title there? Or for her women's title there? You kind of got to put that in the back of your mind as well. Look, when it's all said and done, this pay-per-view, it might not be for everybody. This WWE Payback pay-per-view, it might not be for everybody. There are probably going to be some aspects of the pay-per-view that certain people like. There's probably going to be aspects of the pay-per-view that people don't like. It's not my job to pick a side. My job is to just come here, tell you all exactly what I thought about the pay-per-view, give you guys the 401 on what you missed and everything. I would say if you did not see this pay-per-view, just looking at the match card itself in its entirety, I would say this is where it gets kind of tricky here. First of all, if you are a big fan of Roman Reigns, I would even say this pay-per-view is not worth going out of your way just to see it for Roman Reigns. Wait until you get SmackDown and you can catch the highlights of what all you had missed, quite honestly. That's what I would say to you. If you saw SmackDown and you were like, oh man, WWE's doing another pay-per-view, it's like, I don't really know. Maybe you got work or something along those lines. And you're like, do I have to go out of my way to watch Payback? No, you're actually okay. This is actually one that if you honestly felt like skipping, you'd be okay. Now, if you're the diehard WWE fan and you're like, I kind of want to check this out. Maybe I don't want to go through all the matches though. I would say then peep out the pre-show match, Riott Squad taking on the IIconics. Peep that one out. I'm trusting what my woman said. She said she really enjoyed Lashley taking on Apollo Crews, so I would say check that one out. Honorable mention, I would definitely say check out the Big E taking on Sheamus. Riddle taking on King Corbin, that actually was pretty good. I don't care what anybody says, that's what makes the world different. Agree to disagree. Baszler, Nia Jax, Sasha Banks, Bayley, actually was a pretty good women's tag team match. Check that one out. Keith Lee taking on Randy Orton. Wish it was just a tiny bit longer, but it was okay. That was actually all right. And of course, Dominik, Ray taking on Rollins and Murphy. That one was actually okay as well. The No Holds Barred match for the Universal Championship. Again, you kind of got to rewind it back to what I had said initially when I put out my tweet. And I told you guys, while there's probably going to be some people that were going to be upset at this and everything. I'm not going to rehash all of that, but y'all know what I'm saying. That was just really all about two things. Elevating the fact that Roman Reigns is back. And second of all, highlighting even more this alliance that he has with Heyman. So, kind of keeping all of that in mind, I would say scale of 1 to 10, 1 being shit, 10 being awesome sauce. I would give this pay-per-view based on what I saw tonight, I would give this pay-per-view and some of the issues that I pointed out, 6.5 out of 10. I can't go any higher. If they did the thing there with Retribution that I talked about earlier, if they kind of went in that respective direction, just tease that a little bit, I think I most likely would have given the pay-per-view I probably would have given it a 7.5 out of 10. I can't go to an 8. There's no way I could go to an 8. The way you get to an 8, there had to have been like, man, that match kicked mega ass. That match was like 4 fucking stars. None of the matches on here were 4 stars. Now, I gotta exclude the Lashley Crews since I didn't see that. So I can't really properly, but just everything else, I didn't exactly see anything that was a 4-star rating. Out of 5 type of match. I didn't see exactly anything like that on here. So, yeah. So I'm going to stay at a 6.5. Let's see what you guys had to say about the pay-per-view, though. Looking at the polling results once again, we're going to Twitter here. Remember, Twitter at the RCWR Show. Let's see what you guys are saying here. All right, so 80% of you gave the pay-per-view a thumbs up. And 20% of you gave the pay-per-view a thumbs down. Okay. Checking another poll here. Bear with me a second. Now, we also polled our own respected Twitter followers. That one poll that you guys just heard, that poll, we asked WWE fans on the official account. But amongst our own followers on Twitter, it looks like we've got 65% giving the pay-per-view a thumbs up. 35% are giving the pay-per-view a thumbs down. Let's see what's going on via YouTube. Remember, you can go on over to YouTube, youtube.com/the RCWR Show. click on Communities tab, and you can vote that way. 64% giving the pay-per-view a thumbs up. Meanwhile, 36% are giving it a thumbs down. So, yeah, I'm in agreement with you guys and what you all are saying there. All right. So, hey, do me a favor. If you enjoyed the pay-per-view recap, please smash the like button, heart, subscribe, follow, all that jazz. Really helps out a great ton. Definitely helps more people be able to discover the content with more ease as far as the recommendation goes for checking it out and everything. All right. And we got another show that's going to be coming at you guys. It's going to be dropping Monday night. So you guys will be able to peep that out Monday night. I'll be live after Raw goes off the air. So make sure you tune in for that. That's going to be awesome. Looking forward to that. Patreon members, me and Tammy, we're going to be sitting down. We're going to be recording a new episode of Wrestling with the Topics. We'll definitely be talking a lot more about the passing of Chadwick Boseman. And we'll be diving into a nice amount of topics. That's going to be a Patreon exclusive. So peep that out. That's going to be on patreon.com/RCWR Show. $5 gets you access to monthly exclusive content that gets put out for our Patreon audience. So peep that out. By the way, shout out to our Patreon members. Gino, again, happy birthday to Gino. Shout out to Sean Kenter, Justin Ripstock. Also shout out to John Davis, Michael Wolf. Shout out to my buddy Tony Bing Gaming. You want the very latest in all things Marvel Strike Force, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, the upcoming Square Enix Marvel's Avengers game. Check him out. Tips, tricks, news, walkthroughs. He's covering it all there on YouTube. He's also got a kick-ass Patreon paywall as well. Yeah, sadly, and full transparency, I know Tony Bing is a little bit kind of on the fence about Square Enix's Avengers. I'm definitely not going to be picking it up. The demo was just... And then the whole paywall system that they've got set up going forward, yeah, I'm definitely... So, I thought maybe I was going to be checking out NBA 2K21, played the demo. Yeah, so it looks like at this point, safe bet, I'm probably most likely going to be putting in my pre-order for WWE Battlegrounds. Because, I mean, after all, who hasn't always had the dream since they were a little kid of throwing their favorite wrestler or wrestling rival into the mouth of an alligator, right? So, seriously, man. All right, so that is going to do it. This guy is going to go study and enjoy some NBA action while it's still early. By the way, you know what? WWE, I gave you guys a 6.5 out of 10. I'll give you a 7, and here's why I'll give you a 7 out of 10. I'll give you a 7 out of 10 because you'd be an 8 if you did some stuff with the Retribution angle and all that. But you get a 7 now because you ended the pay-per-view early. I like that. Anytime you have a pay-per-view that is basically off at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, you did okay in my book. You did okay in my book. So I can't go any higher for sure. 7 out of 10. That's definitely final. All right, guys, that is going to do it. If you're waiting for the audio version of this, give me about an hour and I will have this uploaded. Also, shout out to our sponsors, some really awesome sponsors that we've been working with the past couple of weeks. We'll get into some proper shout outs on Monday's show. But for you guys that's going to be hearing the audio version of the show, you at this point have already heard some of those ads. Make sure you represent and check out our sponsors. All right. And that is going to do it. I'm wishing all of you all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. See you next go round. Adios.